And we should be live. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, everyone, depending on where you're watching from. So, no Lumix cameras this time, although you can ask me questions about it. But this is basically a test with the Tail Air cameras that I have for review. My review will come out soon, but they're live stream cameras. I'll give them a little introduction in a second. But they're live stream cameras, so I wanted to test it out live. So that's what this is about. So first off, let me know how it sounds and how it looks. I have one Tail Air camera shooting this angle, and I've got two more that I'll show you in a second. But let me give them a quick introduction first, in case you haven't seen my IBC video where I talk about these cameras. They're basically pan-tilt zoom cameras. I'll switch to another angle so I can show you one. That will be this one. And I'll zoom in a little bit. And move the mic. So I've got one right here, and yeah, I didn't pick the right angle for this, really. I'll pick another angle. 1 second. Nice thing is I can just move this camera because it's a pan-tilt zoom camera. So this is the one filming me at my talking head bit. So as you can see, it's got a gimbal head that can move, and I'm now moving it with a remote controller that I'll show you in a second. And it's got well, it's made for streaming, basically, for streamers. And it's got, like, it's packed with features, and it's got AI tracking, and lots of connectivity options. So I've got these set up in 3 different ways, connectivity wise. So this one that I'm talking right into is connected via HDMI. So the Tail Air has a, I'll talk about this in a second. What happened just now? Let me put it back. So yeah, this one is connected via HDMI. It's got a micro HDMI port, and that is going into a capture card into my computer. Then there is this angle that I showed you just a second ago, and I'll put it back onto me. Oh, that's the wrong one. I'll zoom out a bit. That's a bit much of me. So this one is connected via NDI with an Ethernet cable and an Ethernet adapter, which is this one. And then there is the third angle, which is at the moment showing the app, and this angle is connected via USB-C. So you have 3 options with this camera, with these cameras: HDMI, NDI, and USB-C. So that's what I really wanted to test. Like, is the image quality the same? Is the latency comparable or the same? In general, what are the differences? So far it looks good, and I'm not really seeing any latency differences. I was especially curious about the NDI source, because they say this is the NDI one. They say it's got a latency of 0.2 seconds, which should be hardly noticeable. So I want to ask you, and maybe you can tell me in the chat, like, is my mouth, like the movement of my mouth, is it in sync with the audio now? Because I did sync it with the HDMI source. I delayed the audio, but I'm curious if this NDI one is now out of sync. Very curious to hear. So let me know. I'll switch back to the talking head. And it's back to the wide angle again. So let me take a quick look at my notes. So yeah, as I said, my my review, my full review will be coming out soon, but I wanted to test this in anticipation of that, so I can, yeah, get a better idea of how this works with actual streaming. So what happened just a second ago, where it went to like a very wide angle again. Okay, I see in the chat it appears to be in sync for NDI with your delay. Oh, well, that's perfect. So not really a problem there with NDI. Yeah, what happened just now, just a second ago, where it moved to the very wide angle, that has to do with gesture control. These cameras can react to gestures, and it's now doing it again because I'm holding my hand in a particular way. Yeah, it can respond to gestures. So I'll show you on purpose this time. If I hold my hand like this, it will zoom back out. And if I do it again, it will zoom all the way in, for example. And if I was to do this, and I move my hands outwards or inwards, then you can zoom in however you want. So in steps, basically. It was also doing it on the other. It's not easy, I have to say, to watch all these cameras at the same time, because if I do this in front of this camera, the other camera is also responding to that. So that's also zooming in and out, and I'm seeing that on my screen. So anyway, that's the zooming gesture, but there's more. If I was to do this side to this camera, it starts recording to the micro SD card. So that's another feature of this. It can also record to an SD card whilst putting out a feed over HDMI. It's not possible to also internally record when it's in NDI mode or in USB-C mode. So it's only with the HDMI output that it can simultaneously record to the SD card. I'll stop the recording again. Oh, Uwa says, bad timing watching soccer on Amazon. Okay, yeah, I didn't know that. I'm not really a soccer fan, so, but have fun with the soccer game. I mean, you can watch this after the fact as well, but thanks for popping by in the chat. I really appreciate that. Where was I? Yeah, so the other thing it can do is tracking. It's one of the headline features, really, of these cameras. And I can demonstrate that by holding my hand up like this, and it will respond to that by putting it in tracking mode. And if I now move around, it can also track me around, follow me around. So that's really great. And what else is great about this is that it works really well. Even if I, like, for a second disappear out of frame and come back, it will pick me up again. So that's quite impressive. And the other thing is that in the app, which I'll show you in a second, you can adjust the framing that it keeps whilst tracking you. So I can move myself into a different position in the frame, and it will keep me there during the tracking. So that's great. And I'll stop the tracking again. And the gestures work great for the most part. This zooming gesture doesn't always work too well. And if I'm backlit or there's not much light, then the tracking does seem to suffer a bit, or the gestures. I mean, not really the tracking. Let me take a quick sip of my. So during this stream, also let me know in the chat how it looks. Like, what do you think of the image quality? Because I was actually quite impressed by the image quality of these cameras, because they do have a tiny sensor, at least compared to my Lumix cameras. You know, it's not really a full-blown mirrorless camera, but it's also not a glorified webcam. It's more than that, and it can shoot 4K. So I was quite impressed, but I'm curious to hear what you think in the chat. So let me know. All right, let me look at my notes. Yeah, let's have a look at the app. And I've got the angle for that. So the reason my review is not out yet, I'll zoom out a bit. It's in tracking. The reason my review isn't out yet is because I am basically waiting for the iOS app to be released, because I am an Apple user, and basically to make a nice video I need the iOS version of the app, and currently it's only available on Android. And I do have an Android tablet, but it's old, it's slow, and yeah, it just doesn't work all that well. But I can demonstrate some things about the Tail Air app, or the OBSBOT Start app for the Tail Air. And I'll first show you the tracking, the framing adjustment. So I've put it into tracking now. And if I then go out of this menu and wrong one, and I go into the tracking menu, I can move these lines to adjust the framing. So I can put myself like on the left third, and then like make sure that my eyes are somewhere on this intersection of the, so nice rule of thirds framing, and it keeps it there whilst it's tracking me. So I think that's a really nice feature. The other thing is it has, let me switch back to non-tracking. The other nice thing is what they call AI director's grid, which is, yeah, basically different crops that it either creates for you, or you can set preset positions here in the app, and you can switch between them in the live feed. So this is the one that's going on air. So if I would be switching back to my talking head angle, and I use the director's grid, then you can see that it instantly changes the angle. So from wide, and there is a there is an auto mode where if I move closer or maybe further away from the camera, no, doesn't seem to do anything now. Also, the title of this stream said it as well. It's testing, so some things might not go too well. So now it's in an auto framing option, face it says. So let's see what that does. Oh yeah, it tries to follow my face and crops. Okay, not the best look, to be honest. So let's switch back to non-tracking. Bear with me. All right. So let's switch back to the app for a second. So that's the AI director's grid. And you can also like change the speed at which it moves the pan tilt zoom head. So I have it set to fast now, but you can choose standard or slow, which is nice. But as a videographer, I was interested in like how much control do you have over the image and over the camera settings. And to my surprise, but I was a bit surprised. It's actually got quite a lot of settings, manual settings that you can adjust. First off, you can adjust focus, so either autofocus, autofocus single, and manual focus. Although manual focus, it is manual focus, but you can't focus pull manually. So it's mainly one push AF and then it stays there. That's basically what it is. But what's even nicer, and I'll switch back to the app again. Is that we have full control over things like white balance. There are presets, but you can also set your own color temperature. There isn't a custom white balance in the sense that like it's not similar to a Lumix camera where you can set a custom white balance with a gray card, but you can set your own color temperature, which is nice. And you have full control over things like sharpness, contrast, saturation, hue, and brightness, which I think is awesome because these kind of cameras tend to be over sharpened. So having the ability to turn the sharpness down, I think is a great feature. It's also got an HDR mode, which I quickly decided not to use because there is some weird shifting going on if you zoom in on the image, which I'll talk about in detail in my review. And it's not very noticeable when it's like in its normal mode, but with HDR turned on, it seems to get worse. And also, you know, these cameras aimed at streamers, I don't think HDR is really necessary. I don't think many people will use an HDR mode in a camera like this. So yeah, I think it's a bit gimmicky. All right. Let me look at my notes. Oh yeah, let me talk a bit more about NDI, because this is where these cameras really shine. This is also like a headline feature of these cameras, the NDI capability. If you don't know what NDI is, it's Network Device Interface. It's a protocol to send video and audio over Ethernet, and it works really well. It's quite easy to set up. You need to, if you use OBS, for example, like I'm doing right now, I'll switch to the NDI angle as well. I'm using OBS, and you need to download an NDI plugin for OBS and install that, and then you can connect the Tail Air either via Wi-Fi or via an Ethernet cable with the Ethernet adapter to to your router, and then you can add an NDI source in OBS, and well, that seems to work really well. The only thing is that for NDI to work with these cameras, you need an NDI license, because it's not NDI is proprietary, and you need a license for the device that's NDI capable to enable it. So, and there's a price for an NDI license. I don't actually know what the price is, but I thought I saw somewhere a price around $70 or $100 for a license. But since they send me these cameras, they also send me 3 licenses for NDI. So I'm not really sure what the price is. Anyway, it makes it a lot more flexible in terms of camera placement, and especially if your setup requires like long distances between the camera and whatever you're streaming with, your computer or whatever. NDI makes that a lot easier, because you only have to run an Ethernet cable, and it also can be powered over Ethernet, so PoE. It's PoE capable. So if your router is PoE capable, then you only need to run an Ethernet cable, and it will send the video and audio feed and be powered through that Ethernet cable. So that's, I think, where this device really shines. And one of the other things, especially in combination with the NDI connection, is that it's also a pan-tilt zoom camera. So you can control movement and have it track someone, or manually control the movements. And you can either do that from within the app, or with this smart remote controller that they also send me. And this controller can control up to it looks like something's going wrong with this stream. One second. No, looks like it's fine again. This controller can control up to 3 tail airs with these little buttons, 1, 2, and 3. So if I switch to camera 2, and let me switch the angle as well, I can now control this camera, and also make it track me. For example, I can push the track button, and now it'll track me. And I can zoom out and zoom back in again. I can hit record, but that's not working because it's connected, because NDI is on, and then it can't record internally. And I can set preset positions that I can switch between. And I can do the same things for the other 2 OBSBOT Tail Airs by just switching to the other camera and have the same controls again. So that's really nice. And you can also do that, this camera now, you can also do that from within the app. The one thing about the app that I hope they will change or improve or whatever, and I'll switch to the app, is that the app can only control one camera at a time. So multicam control or easy switching between the angles is not possible. I can show you how you can switch, but it's cumbersome. You first have to disconnect from this one, and then I have to rescan for the other two, and then I have to remember which name that camera has, because I also haven't found a way to change the name of the camera, which is a shame. So let's switch to 0009cc. What is that one? What's this one? And then I have to reconnect to that particular camera. So I wouldn't call that switching angles. That's basically logging out and logging back into another camera, which is not what you want for a multicam setup. So the app has a lot of functionality, but this is basically a function that is missing, and I think it's an important feature. It would be great to see multicam control from within the app. And now I need to find the previous angle again. And if I could change the name, it would also make it a lot easier to switch to find the right camera. All right. So that was the app. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat, and we can talk about whatever. If you see, there was a gesture. There it goes again. By the way, you can also turn certain gestures off from within the app. So if I don't want that zooming thing, I can turn the zoom gesture off in the app, and it won't respond to my gestures for the zooming. So that's nice that you can turn that off. All right. Let me take another. My notes. Well, it looks like you all have other things to do this evening, because there are only 2 viewers, and that's fine. I mean, I wanted to test this, and you can of course watch this after the fact. So if you are watching this after the fact, I really appreciate it, and I hope you'll watch my full review as well. But I think this is going to be a short stream, because I have gone through my talking points, I think, unless you have any questions. I basically wanted to see how this would go live, and I think it's great. It works. Hardly any latency with the NDI, which is a great thing, and everything works like it should. I do think that I would turn off the gestures in the other angle, the cameras in the other angles, because like I said, if I hold up a gesture right now, the other angle will also respond, and you don't really want that. And I think the zooming I'll turn off anyway, especially with the remote, because I can just do that here, which is a bit more precise, and I don't accidentally zoom in then. All right. Well, if there aren't any questions, then I think I'm going to wish you a great week, because the weekend is still far away. And I hope to see you in my full review. Thanks for watching. Also the ones that are watching this after the fact. And if this was helpful and interesting in any way, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. And I hope to see you next time. Bye.